I'm back. I'm back. I even got my protein shake. There's no need to make this a long intro. Not doing those no more. I've decided I'm not doing those no more. I'm not. I don't really feel like doing them. I don't really want to do them, right? So make sure you leave a like. This actually came out. We're actually going to do a twofer here because it showed up in the recommended. Wasn't going to do it, but I was like, fuck it, right? Came out on the first day, 2020, 2 years ago. School of Life. Make sure you like, subscribe if you do go on to enjoy the video. But I would suggest that you do it anyway because, look, I'm going to do it for them. I'm already subscribed to them, but they're going to copyright claim this video. Of course, I'm still going to do it because I don't give a fuck. I don't get ads on my video anyway. I'm not eligible. I'm not big enough to do that yet. But it's just like, bro, every time I make a video, get copyrighted. Anyway, let's go. The high price we pay for the fear of loneliness from the School of Life.
It's not hard to understand the fear of being alone, the empty apartment after work, the eeriness of Sunday afternoons, the sense of exclusion during the holidays. We know the agonies of being on our own very well. What's far less well understood is the enormously high price exacted on the other side of the equation. The fear of being alone is perhaps responsible for more unhappy relationships, more throttling of psychological development, and more pent-up misery than almost any other. It is, by any reckoning, one of the single greatest contributors to human misery and the driver of some of our weightiest and most unfortunate decisions.
That's true.
We were able to get the costs of what is
for
the most part.
So what is he getting at there? Is it that like, oh, this is the driving force, this is the driving force for a lot of misery. It's for a lot of dumb decisions that are made, a lot of stupid things. Why, you do all of this shit is that fear of loneliness. Why you maybe fall in love. Probably,
A simple misapprehension.
Jesus Christ, my stomach is really hurting, dog. I just had some Pepto-Bismol. Jesus, I have no idea why it's hurting. No idea. It just started hurting at work.
Clear in our minds, we might save ourselves a substantial portion of our lives. We can pick out at least 7 unnecessary penalties. For a start, and most obviously, people who are afraid of being alone make some very wrong choices around the company that they keep. They have no option but to privilege anyone over the appropriate one. They don't have the strength to be able to hold out, as one must, for the 20th or 200th candidate. The only souls with any realistic chance of ending up with the partner they deserve are those who've properly reconciled themselves to the prospect of perhaps never being with anyone at all. Being with not quite the right person sounds almost bearable, but extended...
Yeah, it becomes a paradox, man. It becomes because it's just like, fuck. I've learned that the way to really succeed in any of this, and I thought it was maybe a cop out, right? I thought it was maybe like, well, this is what you should do to limit pain or limit any of this, right? Because usually that's what it is, right? People just don't want to feel bad. They don't want to feel like shit. They want to alleviate some form of discomfort, so they'll come up with some sort of way of looking at it, some way of going about it, which is selfish to them, right? That's like the whole, stoic thing of not giving a fuck, being super indifferent, not caring. And I thought, with relationships, you gotta care to some point. I can't be a stoic to the point where if my girlfriend of 3 years died, or my wife of my 2 kids died, I'm not gonna be like a diehard stoic where, she does that and I'm not even gonna shed a single tear. Just because I can't control what's out of my control, so what, am I not supposed to care or be phased or, at all, shifted? I'm supposed to just be here, just indifferent to everything? Like, no, you can't do that. But I've learned that, well, I really didn't know what, like, getting into a relationship really was about. I don't think a lot of people know. They don't know the whole logistics, I guess the technical terms, whatever. The real underlying shit going on with you looking for a relationship, right? And I mean, he's not wrong. I mean, a lot of the ways that you have to do it is you have to love yourself. You have to be fine being by yourself. You have to be fine with yourself. You have to absolutely love yourself. You have to put yourself first. You honestly do, because when you do that, when you put your, you are as a part of a duality. Of course, you're a member of the state. You're a member of a group, but you're also yourself. You're this person. You're always a part of a duality. That's the ambiguity of life, right? And well, you have to take care of both of those, right? And even if that ambiguity causes tension for you, you have to be willing to accept that tension. You have to be willing to embrace and endure. Maybe not embrace, but endure the tension anyway, because that's what it means to be human. Because most people, they just want to. I learned about this through philosophy. Philosophize this podcast, by the way. Stephen West, he did not pay me to say that. I just love the podcast so much that I'm gonna promote it anyway. Honest to God, it ain't even the Amazon banner joke no more. I honestly just want to promote his shit. And it's like, dude, like, you have to, like, it's that ambiguity, man. People make up all of these shits. They say, well, I'm just an American. Well, I'm just an evangelist. Well, I'm just a diehard Star Wars fan. I'm just a, right? But I'm just a to make life just a little bit less ambiguous, right? Because they realize, well, there are a lot of things. There's ficticity, there's the transcendence, but let me not get into all of that, right? I'm veering off way too far. You have to love yourself, right? You have to be okay. You have to just... And I always thought that took something away from that, idealization of love. I always thought, well, you should absolutely be die hard in love with a person, to the point where you felt like you couldn't live without them. But then I learned that's like, even though that's romanticized, it's not healthy. Like, it's not supposed to be, and you're never gonna succeed. Not by, like, I'm saying, like, not because of limiting your pain, but also, like, well, it's likely that your relationship just isn't gonna work. It's likely that it's just not even gonna work. It's not about, if a tragedy were to happen, if she were to die, so don't get too attached because you might get hurt. No, like, relationships just don't really work when you're like that. You're supposed to just be, like, you're supposed to both, like, realize and come to the, conclusion and the wherewithal, whatever, awareness, I should say, of the fact that, you're both in a relationship option, like, what's the word? On purpose. Like, you're both in the relationship willfully. Like, we've made a decision that we're going to be. Of course, if we weren't, well, I'd be fine. But I'm making the decision that I want to spend my life with you. And it's like, I always thought you'd be missing a layer there, that romanticism, that romanticness. But it's like, no, that's how a relationship really should be. And that's how most of them are going to work out the best, is when, you're not doing too much. It's when,
Over time.
But let me let him talk, right? I'm still gonna get copyrighted anyway, no matter how much I talk. I've been talking too much. Let me shut up now. Let me let the video play.
A proverbial pebble in a shoe, slightly wrong, ends up indistinguishable from entirely horrific. Every beautiful location we travel to together will be ruined. Every promising moment will be trampled upon. Every success will be compromised. What may begin as slight fractiousness or tedium winds up as cataclysmic irritation, self-disgust, sexual misery, broken finances, and the kind of excruciating loneliness that, ironically, merely and innocently being on our own would never have the power to generate. Furthermore, when terrified of loneliness, we have no strength to argue for our needs within any relationship. One is always at the mercy of the one who fears loneliness less. Partners develop an advanced sense of the person who has nowhere else to go. It's no use stamping our feet after an argument and saying, "I've had enough," when in reality everyone knows that we will never have had enough. So scared are we of having dinner on our own. We can't now imagine ever knowing how to change the dishwasher fluid alone, walking into a party by ourselves, or taking the initiative to send our nephews birthday presents. So used have we become to using the other person to compensate for our weaknesses. We experience none of the bracing, but also educative pressures visited upon the single, who have no choice but to overcome their inhibitions, those brave souls who have to learn how to garden, go on holidays in the mountains, endure empty weekends, call up their mother or cook a chicken, and thereby achieve the resilient competence upon which true social discrimination and liberty rest. For those who have too lightly signed away their freedoms, there are sure to be constant and searing reminders of what they've foregone. Every party and every walk down a busy street will provide evidence of what might have been. All those potentially fascinating or charming members of humanity, they have now forever been disbarred from getting to know, because they were so unnaturally scared of having a bed to themselves for a few more years. It isn't just other people we won't get to know, it's also ourselves. The constant presence of companions stops us from making friends with our own minds and exploring our feelings and ideas in a way that only extended stretches of solitude allow. We use another person to distract us whenever any slightly painful or challenging internal matter comes into view. There ends up being so much we won't ever really feel or understand about ourselves, so many big questions about our careers and our ultimate purpose that we will ignore, because there was always someone else on hand to chat to about what to order in for dinner. Worst of all, we might not even be actively miserable after a while. We'll grow used to cozy mediocrity. We won't be curious or restless. We won't dare, as the single must, to go up to strangers and risk our pride. We'll stop learning. We'll believe that we've answered our needs completely, but only on the basis of suppressing our knowledge of what our needs really are. To start to correct everything that stems from this ridiculous fear of being alone, we should, from a young age, learn that being alone never means there is something wrong with us, just that we are being appropriately patient until what truly satisfies us shows up, if indeed it ever does. We have a choice.
Oh, you see that? If indeed it ever dies. But you can't really do that, most motherfuckers. What? You see most movies nowadays. You see, like, art, life imitates art, bro. You see most movies nowadays. Every time there's just two dudes, they just kiss and then they ride off into the sunset happily ever after. Like, motherfuckers want to be able to relate to the characters they see on the media. Motherfuckers have a long day at work. They come back to the media. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to want to wind down. They're going to want to wind off. You know, they work, consume. And when you're consuming, what are you consuming, right? You're not consuming, you're not learning a new language. You're not doing any of this. No, you're coming home after a hard fucking day working out there 8 hours in this capitalist society. You're going to come back. You're going to be like, man, I just want to watch something that's not going to take up a lot of cognitive resources. It's not going to be physically daunting. I just want to relax and enjoy myself and have fun and be entertained. So then you're going to be entertained and in your entertainment on this fucking box, right? What are you going to get? You're going to get a movie or a show wherein motherfuckers are in love, or like there's like a couple that they fight the bad guy and they take down the bad guy together, right? And it's like, well, that's the whole purpose of the movie is this guy falling in love with this person. And it's like, well, everybody seems to be in love, and like it's already kind of tied into most things that most people believe that it's like a very like good thing to be with somebody, right? I mean, of course, you know, you do honestly know that it's gonna, you know, as long as you're not fighting, it's like shit's going well, it's gonna feel great to be with somebody. You know, nobody really likes to be alone. They can admit that, right? Nobody likes to be alone. Why would you? But it's also like, well, you have to become comfortable with it. You have to kind of embrace it, even if you really don't want to, because of, you know, the way that you've been sort of brought up, the way that you've been indoctrinated, the way that you've been sort of, you know, molded into, you know, your thought patterns. You have these thought patterns, and your thought patterns are likely going to tell you that it's much more desirable to not be alone. And it's like, well, yeah, but you can also do it, right? And you don't need somebody now, especially not nowadays. You only have that feeling because, well, that's your body, that's your old software. Don't need to get into it. I really don't need to get into that whole old software shit. I've said it in multiple videos by now, right? The old software. It's just you looking to go procreate, looking to go reproduce so you can keep the species going when you don't actually need to do that. Not anymore, right? But of course your body still is working with that old ass fucking, you know, primal system. So that's why you don't want to be alone. That's why you want to go fuck somebody. That's why it feels so good to have sex, right? It's because they're going to promote that type of action. Your body's doing that, right? Nature's doing that, I should say.
We'll never learn the true promise of community, discover our own interests, or hold out for the connections we deserve until we make a genuine peace with the prospect of a life by ourselves.
So you gotta make
Our
peace.
online shop has arranged.
Man, fuck you. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm playing. Let's see what people are saying. Do you often make decisions controlled by fear of loneliness? Let us know in the comments below. Turn on your notifications. Never forget, it's better to be alone than in wrong company. That is true. All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone. That is true. But as much as that is true, would you want to sit in a room alone, Blaise Pascal? I mean, be real. If you do, well, you know what people are going to say? They're going to think that you're weird. And it's like, well, motherfuckers don't think that they're the president, right? Stephen West goes into this too. Of course, motherfuckers are going to... They have no other choice but to just... You know, a lot of people are aware of this stuff, but they just don't care enough to change it, right? I could be aware that humanity's problems stem from the man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone, but what am I going to do? You know, like, am I just going to be that guy that just because I know that knowledge that I'm going to just sit in a room alone? It still sucks to me, right? I still have that feeling in my brain that I feel like a better life for me would be, you know, for whatever reason, I may have that idea, right? Whether it be the media, whether I be... Whatever. I still have that feeling in there of like, well, I don't really want to be alone, you know? It's not very easy. A lot of times you can't do anything but just fit in. A lot of times you can't do anything but conform. Even if you do realize the underlying shit under it. I mean, that's what I do. I pretty much know a lot of shit about a lot of shit. I'm a very deep person. I know a lot of shit about society, about the philosophy, the world, whatever. The reason why people do things, right? You know, you read the Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene, you start to see things differently. But it's also like, well, I still am me. I still do a lot of things that I always do, and I still, like, you know, I still do this shit. It's not like I gotta, you know, it's not like just because I know shit that it's gonna completely change. As I was married when you're with the wrong person. This is true. We all know this. But let's see why we're fated to be lonely, right?
This is Blankos, the free-to-play multiplayer game where you can unlock, earn, and sell NFTs in-game.
Oh,
in Blankos,
please.
it pays to play, literally.
How
you
much?
You can choose to sell your...
Pays me how much? Get the fuck out of here. Come on. Why we're fated to be lonely, but that's okay.
There are few more shameful confessions to make than that we are lonely. The basic assumption is that no respectable...
Hey, nah, fuck you. Okay, I will proudly say I'm lonely. Okay, I don't give a fuck about no motherfuckers coming in here judging me. Okay, I don't care. I'll tell you right now, bro. Like, I will tell you to your face, homie, with my chest. Say it with your chest, little homie. Right? And I'll say it. I'm a lonely motherfucker, low key, though. Of course, what does that mean to you? What does loneliness mean to me? You know, what does it mean to be lonely? You know, what do I mean in that, like, in what way? You know? It's like, well, it is summer. Don't really go out much except for the gym and then work, which at work, I'm not a cashier. I'm very alone at work. I don't talk to anybody. That's why I chose it, because I can chill and I can listen to Philosophize This. Right? Stephen West is loving me right now. Right? I'm not even affiliated. I tell you, I love that podcast, man. I just telling you that. Like, I love it. But yeah, no, I chose so I can listen to, you know, Joe Rogan, can listen to music, can listen to Philosophize. It doesn't matter. Any podcast, anything. Can listen to anything that I want while I work, and it's quiet, you know? And that's why I chose it. But it's also like, sometimes I do wish I had more social interaction, because, well, I like to think that I know a lot of stuff, and I'd like to share it. I'd like to maybe give value to somebody. Maybe I can give value to somebody. And, well, I don't really talk to many people. Nobody really texts me like that, right? And I'm even off social media, and it didn't matter if I was or not. I occasionally log back in just to see if maybe somebody has sent me a message or something. Nobody sent me a message, right? Nobody cares. People don't really want to text me. They don't care about talking to me, and that's fine. They could choose not to, right? Doesn't say anything about me. It really doesn't. Like, if your head immediately goes to, well, what does that say about you? Well, why does your head go there? Why does it have to say anything about me? Who's to say that it had to say anything about me for the fact that people don't want to talk to me? Does it have to automatically mean, oh, well, you must be boring. Oh, well, you must be this, and that. And that's the way a lot of people think. And it's just like, no. People have their lives. People are selfish. People are self-deceiving. A lot of times people don't even know. You know, they don't know what they have until they lose it, right? So they don't realize the quality of a person that I am, unless if I were to be gone. And I don't want to be gone, right? I still have a lot to do. I still have too much to do. So it's like, well, If they can't see it, I can't force them to, because then you take away a lot of it. You can't force anybody to do anything. They have to do it on their own. And if they don't, well, then I have no other thing to do other than be lonely.
Person could ever feel isolated unless maybe they'd just moved country or been widowed. Yet in truth, a high degree of loneliness is an inexorable part of being a sensitive, intelligent human. It's a built-in feature of a complex existence. There are several big reasons for this. Much of what we need recognized and confirmed by others, a lot of what it would be extremely comforting to share, is going to be disturbing to society at large. Many of the ideas in the recesses of our minds are too odd, contrary, subtle, or alarming to be safely revealed to anyone else.
I feel that.
We face a choice between honesty and acceptability, and, understandably, mostly choose the latter.
Yes.
It takes a lot of
But I'm an
energy
honest man.
to listen to another person and enter sympathetically into their experiences.
That's my facticity, though. My transcendence. Well, I still try to always be an honest person. I mean, that's just one aspect of me. That'd be an oversimplification. I hate doing that because every time I say some shit like that where I try to tell people like, hey, look how smart I am. I feel like such a smart ass. I just need to shut up. Who cares? Who asked? Nobody asked to go that deep. Why do I do that?
We shouldn't blame others for their failure to focus on who we are. They may want to meet us, but we should accept the energy with which they will keep the topic of their own lives at the center of the conversation. We must all die alone, which really means that our pain is for us alone to endure. Others can throw us words of encouragement, but in every life, we are out on the ocean, drowning in the swell, and others, even the nice ones, are standing on the shore, waving cheerily. It's deeply unlikely that we will ever find someone on exactly the same page of the soul as us. We will long for utter congruity, but there will be constant dissonance because we appeared on the earth at different times, are the product of different families and experiences, and are just not made of quite the same fabric. So they won't be thinking just the same as us on coming out of the cinema and looking...
Oh my god, that is so true. I've always felt that, man. I've always felt so unique and different. And I've never been a person that's wanted to fit in for some weird reason. Of course, if I have to fit in, I'll do... I'm not like completely just disregarding social etiquette. Or, you know, I do occasionally do some things to fit in. I can't lie to you either. But it's just like, most of the time, I've always known I'm super fucking unique. And it makes me feel like a lot of motherfuckers, man. Like, I just see a lot of motherfuckers like they're all the same. Like, I'm thinking of Nietzsche. I see everybody as a camel. And I can't communicate with camels that well. Like, there's a very limit. There's like a wall, you know. It's a barrier. Like, not a language barrier. It's almost like an awareness barrier. It's like a consciousness barrier. It's a life barrier. Like, we have different lives. You have different experiences. If I had your shit, I'd probably be just like your shit. If you had my shit, well, I mean, my mind is pretty unique. I mean, that I could probably just tell you, right? But it's also like, a lot of what I am is just my ficticity, which is, you know, the experiences that I have. That's what it means. And also, you know, some other shit, right? It was just like, well, the time that I was born, family, what he said, you know? The time. There's so much that goes into it, man. It just seems like even people of my age, who at least we have the time thing, it's like, oh, family is just so different. Experiences are just so different that I feel like I don't know what the fuck I'm talking to. I feel like we're just like not on the same level. Not like I'm above. It's just we're not on the same level. I'm not saying I'm above. I'm just saying like we're just not in the same wavelengths. You know, we're not moving the same. Because I'm like, I just... I've always felt like I always thought I was more aware than everybody else, that I was more conscious than everybody else, that I was just I had meta consciousness, I had meta awareness, something like that, right? I was like super duper aware, because I'm always super duper aware of the fact that I'm conscious, and I've always thought deep, you know, philosophical, existential questions, like, what is blah, blah, blah. I've always questioned everything, right? Sign of an intelligent mind, you know, skepticism, that's how I got out of my religion. I used to be religious, then now I question it all. I didn't even know what skepticism was, you know? but I just did it. I completely was completely a skeptic, and I never even knew what it meant to be a skeptic, and I was just a skeptic. And I realized that that's a very intelligent thing to do. But at what cost? Now everybody just brings up God, and I'm just like, oh, come on, dog. I literally was having a conversation with my coworker today about, what was it? The war? About Russia and the U.S. and military power, and, military powers and countries, and talking about geopolitical state of the world. I'm not Jaden Smith, but, and we were just talking about that. And then they bring up, well, in the Bible, they don't even mention the U.S. It's going to be Russia on top, and Israel. Israel's a power. They're all going to come together at Israel and China, and it doesn't mention the U.S. And I'm like, it couldn't mention the U.S. It couldn't possibly mention the U.S. The U.S. came about 1,770 years after any of that shit even was thought about being written. Okay, the U.S. was not around then. Why do you think it's not in the Bible? Okay, but they all believe in the prophecies, whatever. Okay, cool. It doesn't, I don't care until I just we can't be on the same page, because there's just such a barrier there. You're using the Bible to, as your resource? Like, come on, dog. Come on. Why is your source the Bible, man? We're talking about Russia and, the Ukraine war that's going on right now. Like, why are you using the Bible? Come on. And that shit just pisses me off. Yeah. And I don't care until that happens. I really don't give a fuck what anybody believes in. I don't care. You go ahead and believe whatever you want. You're free. That's what that freedom is. You should have the ability to believe what you want. But it pisses me off when it interferes with my ability to have a constructive conversation with somebody, right? Where it's just like, well, we're on the same page. We're moving there. We're moving the same. We want the same thing. We want to get to, objective fact. Maybe not objective fact, but facts, right? What we know. And what we think. And it's just like, well, he thinks this and that because, well, the Bible says so. And it's just like, what? Okay.
At the night sky, just when we want them to say something high-flown and beautiful, they will perhaps be remembering a painfully banal and untimely detail from an area of domestic life, or vice versa. It is almost comic. We will almost certainly never meet the people best qualified to understand us. But they do exist. Probably they once walked past us in the street, though neither of us had the slightest idea of the potential for connection. Or maybe they died in Sydney 2 weeks ago, or won't be born until the 22nd century. It isn't a conspiracy. We would just have needed a lot more luck. The problem is sure to get worse the more thoughtful and perceptive we are. There will simply be less people like us around. It isn't a romantic myth. Loneliness truly is a kind of tax we have to pay to atone for a certain complexity of mind. The desire to undress someone is for a long time far more urgent than the desire for good conversation. And so we end up locked in relationships with certain people we don't have much to say to.
Bro, that's fucking facts. I've had that happen, bro. Fucking hell. That's facts. That's fucking facts. I wanted to talk to her. She just wanted to undress me. That's fucking facts. And that's what ruined it. Because it's literally the text message, man. Literally the text message she said, I felt that. She was like, I felt that when you wanted to text me more or walk with me, whatever, at school. She was like, oh, I felt like you wanted my attention. And it's just like, oh, that's something only couples do. Something not friends don't do, but we had already done the dirty right here. And it's just like, it's not really adding up. Not something not friends do. You're talking about the talking, but you can okay, yeah, okay. Wasn't even my idea. I didn't even like the girl, but just because I'm lonely, I'm like, fuck it, like, let's do this thing. I didn't even like the girl. Yeah,
were once fatefully interested in the shape of their nose or the colour of their remarkable eyes.
Damn, look at them eyes.
And yet, despite all this, we shouldn't be frightened or discomforted by our pervasive loneliness. At an exasperated moment, near the end of his life, the German writer Goethe, who appeared to have had a lot of friends, exploded bitterly,
"No one has ever properly understood me. I have never fully understood anyone. No one understands anyone else."
It was a helpful outburst from such a great man. It isn't our fault. A degree of distance and mutual incomprehension isn't a sign that life has gone wrong. It's what we should expect from the very start. And when we do, benefits can follow. Once we accept loneliness, we can get creative. We can start to send out messages in a bottle. We can sing, write poetry, produce books and blogs, activities stemming from the realization that people around us won't ever fully get us, but that others, separated across time and space, might just. The history of art is the record of people who couldn't find anyone in the vicinity to talk to. And we can take up the coded offer of intimacy in, say, the words of a Roman poet who died in 10 BC, or the lyrics of a singer who described just our blues in a recording from Nashville in 1963.
Like the motherfuckers who, Kafka. The Kafka dude from the Kafkaesque episode. That fucker. He didn't get any type of recognition until after he was dead. He didn't even get to see how popular his books became. He didn't even get to see any of it. He thought he was a loser. Like, damn. Man, that shit will, it's just like, damn.
Loneliness makes us more capable of true intimacy if ever better opportunities do come along. It heightens the conversations we have with ourselves. It gives us a character. We don't repeat what everyone else thinks. We develop a point of view. We might be isolated for now, but we'll be capable of far closer, more interesting bonds with anyone we do eventually locate. Loneliness renders us elegant and strangely alluring. It suggests there's more about us to understand than the normal patterns of social intercourse can accommodate, which is something we can take pride in. A sense of isolation truly is, as we suspect but usually prevent ourselves from feeling from fear of arrogance, a sign of depth. When we admit our loneliness, we are signing up to a club that includes the people we know from the paintings of Edward Hopper, the poems of Baudelaire, and the songs of Leonard Cohen. Lonely, we enter a long and grand tradition. We find ourselves, surprisingly, in great company. Enduring loneliness is almost invariably better than suffering the compromises of false community. Loneliness is simply a price we may have to pay for holding on to a sincere, ambitious view of what companionship must and could be.
Because you hold yourself to a high standard. And you realize, like, okay, I'm going to give my energy only to the right person. I'm not going to be, like, on hookup culture like everybody else in my fucking shit. Not that I have anything to say. I don't really care about say. I don't really have much of a say. If I don't know much about anything or the psychology of something, I realize that I just don't really have anything to say. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. Like, if motherfuckers want to fuck, sure. Like, if I was horny enough, I maybe would want to be in that. But it's also like... But it's like, well, these are humans. Like, or so, like, I'd like to get to know the person too. Like, come on. Like, it should be more. Like, I feel like it should be more, and it could be more. Like, it's just like, it just seems like hookup culture. So what? You just fucking random people like every day? What? You don't do anything to them? Like, what? You just fucking and you leave? You dip? Kick them out? What? Like, one night stands, and you're not even gonna wake up, cook the person some breakfast. You're not gonna like get to know them like that. Like, all you like, but it's mutually beneficial. It's like any trade-off. It's like, okay, it's mutually beneficial. Both of you are down. Both of you are down to just have your sex. But it's just like, wow. It's just like, well, something about that just don't kind of sit. It don't kind of sit right with me. It don't really sit that right. I don't know why. It just doesn't sit too right. I feel like there should be more. I don't know why about that whole sex thing. I don't know if it's the energy, there's something about sex. It feels like there should be more. There should be more than just hookup culture and white night stands. Like, it's just not more to people. I mean, it's obviously like, well, it's, animals do it, anybody, it's just any other thing that just, gives you some nice chemicals in your brain, it makes you feel good, whatever. But it's also like, well, you're also having this connection with this human being. Like, why don't you like connect like on like properly? Like, you're not connecting properly. All you're doing is you're fucking. And you don't even know anything about this person. You don't even get to know like the human being behind those eyes that you look at as you're fucking her. You know? And it's like, well, oh, whatever you guys think about these videos, man, let me know what you guys think. I made it too long. Still, I even try to cut the intro short, but I still talk too much because I have a lot to say. But it's also like, well, I should try to talk a little less before somebody tells me. I'm going to have somebody leave a comment. I know I am. I'm going to have somebody leave a comment. And I'm going to be like, well, talk less, fucker. You talk too much. I got bored and I left at 3 minutes because you were talking too much. That's fair enough. If you guys enjoyed, man, leave a like, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think. And I will catch you guys for the next one. Yes, sir.